This is Karen with newclevelandradio.net. And I'm a little confused today because it's Wednesday. And normally on Tuesday, we have One in the World with Paul Seburn and his sidekick, John Donalo. However, it is Wednesday, March 15th, the Ides of March.
Oh, man, really?
Well, I wonder what's in store for us today.
Oh, you should know, Karen. The only thing you have to beware of with What in the World is busting a gut laughing. At least we hope so. How's that?
There it is.
What a great intro, by the way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Karen worked on that all day. That was
I
that was
did,
a nice one.
yeah.
Anyways, it's me, Paul Seburn, and this is What in the World, everybody's favorite weird news podcast. Real news, sometimes strange, always funny. That's our motto. You come to visit us once a week, this week on Wednesday, for those of you who are listening live, to get away from the bad news, the stock market, the banks failing, all that stuff. We don't talk about any of that here. What we talk about is strange news from around the world. And by we, I'll introduce Karen Hale, our producer, media mogul at newclevelandradio.net and co-host. Please visit newclevelandradio.net. That tells you how to download us from the various platforms and also from YouTube, where we'd love for you to visit us because we have photographs that go along with some of our podcast stories. So great place to go and check out what we're talking about. Also on the screen here or in your ear is John Donalo. Hey, John.
Hey, Paul. Hey, Karen. It's the Ides of March, so it's
Yes.
a little spooky for us, as Karen was saying.
That's right. March Madness intensifies on March 15th, I guess. So speaking of March Madness, John is our sports guy and trivia contributor. So we'll be looking to him to provide those kinds of things. Also, he has What in the World of Sports. He's got a strange sport for us this week. What are we going to talk about today? I want to say ahead of time. Oh, and thank you to everybody for tuning in, whether you're listening on a podcast while you're exercising, walking, just laying on the couch, perfect place to listen to What in the World, watching us on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining in. We really appreciate that. That's the reason why we do it. We like to have fun. We hope that fun goes out to you. This week's show is a little more paranormal than usual. There were some really cool paranormal stories that I decided we'd focus on this week rather than our usual strange stuff. Plus, I had a little difficulty finding some strange, the really strange, funny stuff I like to do. So these are great. Wait till you hear this. So I've got a Bigfoot story for John. So he's
okay. Good.
World's smallest baseball game. Wait till you hear this one, John. This is another sports story for you. On the paranormal side, I have a story about 2 Loch Ness monsters that appear in one photo, which means there's monsters. Yeah. We've never seen anything like this before. Bad news for Mr. Spock from the Star Trek series. It turns out something bad has happened to his planet, Vulcan. We're going to find out about that. Got a story about a mouse with antlers. Very, very strange, unusual creature from, is it either Japan or China? I think it's from China. And some more odd news, some world records, trivia, you name it, strange sports. And then we play everybody's favorite weird news game, Bluff the co-host. And I know John's ready for that. He's been on a roll the past few weeks, so let's see if he can continue his streak.
I'm going to try my best.
You always do. Always do. Okay, so I want to get started with the Bigfoot story. Karen, when we were getting ready, we were doing our rehearsal for the show, and Karen asked if we had any Bigfoot stories this week. And up until 30 minutes ago, I did not. And 30 minutes ago, a Bigfoot story came in with photographs. I said, this is it. This is our story for the week. John will be thrilled. Now, John, this is a story about a place where you and I and Karen, we can all go to see Bigfoot for real. I've got the photographs here. The problem is it's in Portland, not the one in Maine, the one in Oregon. So we have to go to Portland to see it. So
Well, we have to make some kind of arrangements then to do this. Let's find out more.
Yes, absolutely.
Maybe you may want to wait until you see the photos.
That's a strong caveat right there.
Anyways, well, let's see if I can talk and put a photo up here at the same time. This story comes to us from Portland, as I said. The name of this Bigfoot, and his Bigfoot does have a name. His name is Douglas Fir, and that's F-U-R, Fir. And I think you'll understand when you see what he looks like here. So there's a picture of Douglas Fir for you, John and Karen, and everybody watching live. Douglas Fir is the new mascot for the Portland Trailblazers in the National Basketball Association. Isn't that correct, John?
Yes, NBA. Yes, the Trailblazers are in the NBA.
The Trailblazers, that's right. Now you may ask, what does a Bigfoot have to do with a Trailblazer? And that's a really good question, which I had to look up myself. So here you've got a picture of Douglas Fir. He was introduced, I believe it's a he. His name is Douglas. I think 1 or 2 games ago. So this is their new mascot. I think I have another photo of Douglas, or maybe Doug. He may be wish to be called. Here he is, sitting on the floor. Great seats there, by the way, with some fans looking up at the scoreboard. So the new mascot wears a plaid shirt. He's definitely very hairy, and big. Consequently, he's a Bigfoot. He also wears a Trailblazers beanie. So Douglas Fir joins the other mascot of the Portland Trailblazers. John, do you know what the other mascot is for the Blazers?
Paul, you got me on this one. I really can't say that I know who that mascot is.
I've got another one. I got another trivia question you'll get. The other one is Blaze the Trail Cat. Blaze the Trail Cat is the other mascot.
Okay.
Now, why they needed 2 mascots? That's a question to ask not only the Portland Trailblazers, but one other team. It turns out there are only 2 teams in the NBA with 2 mascots. Do you know what the other team is?
I'm going to say it's the Cleveland Cavaliers.
That's right. Can you name the 2 mascots? There's the hard part.
Yeah, one is. Oh. Wait. What is the mascot?
There's a guy dressed up as a Cavalier.
Right, that's Karen's right with that. And then the other one is isn't it the dog? Isn't it some kind?
But we'll give you that's close enough. Moondog is his name.
Yes.
Moondog, that's right.
Named for Cleveland famous radio disc jockey Alan Freed, who really promoted rock and roll throughout the world and was responsible by reputation for bringing the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame here. So the other mascot's name is Sir CC. So that would be Sir Cleveland Cavalier. That's his name.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah, right. So I had no idea. I didn't know that the Cavaliers had 2 mascots. There's no reason why, other than, I think in the Trailblazers case, it's tough to depict a trailblazer in a giant costumed creature.
I would agree. I would agree.
Whose job it is to shoot t-shirts into the crowd and do so. So anyway, so there's your Bigfoot for this week.
Okay.
Douglas Fir. Okay, so here's another sports story here, John. We'll take Douglas down here. So this is the smallest baseball game ever played, smallest baseball game in the world. This comes to us from Korea, the Korea Advanced Institute of Science and Technology. They've invented the world's smallest baseball game. The gloves are optical traps. The balls are single atoms. They're chilled rubium atoms. So they use these beams, they focus them with these tiny microscopes, and they throw these atoms back and forth over a distance of 4.2 micrometers, which is about this big, really tiny. and at a speed of up to 65 centimeters per second. I have no idea how fast that is, but they likened it to tiny baseball pitchers throwing to tiny baseball catchers. During the game, they also eat tiny hot dogs and they drink tiny little cans of beer. So
This is
it's
hysterical.
a real thing. Honest to God, it's a real. They have obviously they have some scientific purpose for this. We don't really care what that is. It's just interesting that
Really?
world's
That's a good point, Paul. Yeah.
yeah. And realistic, John. Talk about realistic. They have bacteria that come out and they scratch and spit. So you know,
Oh, no.
they even have a steroid scandal. That's right. They have a one of the players, Barium Bonds is his name, named after the element. Barium Bonds. He came back from the offseason the size of a pinhead. So he's been taking steroids and really buffed up. The World Series. They even have a World Series. The World Series, first thing they had to do was eliminate the San Francisco Giants because obviously they're too big to play against
the Giants.
Adams.
It's not going to work, obviously.
So yeah, really. Those won by the Milwaukee Brewers yeast, tiny little spores. They won the World Series. So, anyways, that's our story of the world's tiniest baseball game. Okay, now this is another paranormal story here. This one comes from Beijing. So this was hot in the news this week. You may have even seen it on the mainstream media. People in Beijing were terrified because it was raining worms on their cars, on their houses, on them. And I've got a photo of the worms so Karen can see what they look like because she always likes to.
Oh, thanks. I love looking at things like that.
There you go. Okay. Worms all
that is
over the
gross.
car. Yeah, all over the ground, all over people. In fact, the newscasters were telling people that if you're going to go outside, take an umbrella, which it doesn't seem like the good protection against worms falling from the sky. You know, God only knows what they could be carrying. I mean, that's the best they can do. I would have thought with the way things are going in the world that the newscasters would have been demanding that the government shoot the worms down. But apparently, that didn't happen. Or bring trained robins in to eat the worms off the cars. You know, that happens in Cleveland, right? You know, as soon as the worms come out, it rains. The worms come out. The robins come right behind them.
How did the worms get up into the atmosphere to rain down?
Good question, Karen. That's right. I'm glad you asked that.
Okay.
What happened was, well, let's get to the identification of the worms first. The forecast that day, by the way, was cloudy with a chance of worms. So they should have known that it was.
Okay.
Basically, when something like this happens, it's because a major storm, a windstorm comes in and takes a weird turn where the wind, instead of coming from above down to below, it kind of swoops in from below and catches the worms that may be on the ground or in trees and blows them up into the sky, then moves them over to another location and drops them. There's only one problem with that. And if you take a really close look at these worms, you'll notice that they're not worms at all. What they are seeds. They're seed pods from a tree. And, I noticed that I live in Northeast Ohio near the Rocky Mountain National Park, or not the Rocky Mountain, Cuyahoga Valley National Park. We have many trees that drop things like that. And that's exactly what these are. They're waterlogged seed pods that people got, the newscasters got them all terrified. Turns out it's just junk falling from the trees.
A scientific explanation for everything, Paul and Karen, right?
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
I think we should hold the Chinese media accountable for that. The Chinese government, I think we should. Next time those balloons go flying over, I'm going to go outside. I'm going to hold up a real worm and say, "Look, you people, this is what a worm looks like. Come on, a break." Anyways, I don't want to go any more political than that.
Okay.
Okay.
This next story comes from my buddy Wayne, who gave me a text this morning, and he asked me if I've seen this. This is a car story, another car story, a different kind, and also a China story. So Volkswagen which is headquartered in Germany, of course, is trying to become the leader in electric vehicles. So they've committed $190 billion to building electric vehicles. And I'm going to take these worms down here while we're talking about this. So the two biggest markets for electric vehicles are the United States and China. And apparently China is ahead of us in this. So Volkswagen is catering to the Chinese marketplace. So what they're doing is they're listening to Chinese customers and they're catering to their demands. And the biggest demand of Chinese drivers who want to buy electric vehicles is we want to have a karaoke machine in the car.
Oh my gosh.
I kid you not. This comes from the Financial Times, a very reputable newspaper. So Volkswagen is giving into the demand, and for the Chinese marketplace, they are building karaoke machines into electric cars. Is this a good idea? I mean, most people I know have to get drunk first before they sing karaoke, which is not what you want people doing in an electric car while they're singing karaoke.
I would agree.
Yeah, John, are you a karaoke singer, by the way?
I am not. No, I am not. If I have enough drinks, I guess I can be. But no, I'm a terrible singer to be.
Okay, I think we should have a karaoke party.
Oh, no.
Well, I think we should simulate this story and do karaoke in a car, because what kind of songs would you sing to go with driving in a car, other than Baby You Can Drive My Car, or something like that by the Beatles.
Wheels on the Bus, so you could sing The Wheels on the Car Go Up and Down.
Oh, there you go. Okay, Karen, we've got a song for you. If we get stuck in traffic, this is what John's going to sing. We got to get out of this place.
Yep.
I think you could handle that easily. And if we get a flat tire, I'll sing Help by the Beatles. So
wow.
Typically, this is business. So Volkswagen is already rigging up the machines so that they don't play songs like the one that says drove my Chevy to the levee.
By John McClane. Right. There it is.
That's fine. Okay, so this one, this is just a little bit of trivia here. This came from a survey of people wanted to know who the most attractive people are in the world. What country has the most attractive people? So one of these survey companies did a survey. You want to take a guess, Karen? What country do you think has the most attractive people? And this is men and
maybe Sweden.
Sweden, good guess. John, how about you?
I was thinking Sweden, but then now the more I think about it, how about France?
France, not Italy. I'm surprised. Not the United States.
Yeah. Well, Italy for me goes with
Italy. Oh, there you go. Or Italy. He was formulating that thought there. Turns out the number one country for the most beautiful people is India, according to this study. India. Number 2 was the United States, and number 3 was both of your choices, Sweden. What do you think came in at number 50? And don't worry, you're not going to offend anybody, because you'll never guess this. Who did you say, Karen?
I said Russia.
Russia. Got a good guess. John doesn't want to get involved. He doesn't want to have any countries hating him. The 50th, the last one, was Switzerland. The Swiss, they said, were the least attractive of the 50 countries studied.
I find that odd. In a way, I find that odd, right? I mean,
yeah.
Perception, just general perception, right?
I know. I immediately, when I read that, I ran to into the kitchen, into the cabinet, and I got out my hot chocolate and looked at a picture of the Swiss Miss. And she's a very attractive lady. Plus, she's got chocolate.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that goes without saying.
There you go. That's right. The rest of the top 10. Let's see. There was number 4, Japan. Number 5, Canada. Number 6, Brazil. I would have thought they'd be higher. Number 7, John's choice, France. Number 8, Italy. Also John's choice. Number 9, Ukraine. There you go. Sorry, Russia. And number 10, Denmark. So how about that?
Okay.
Interesting.
It
little
is
study.
interesting.
See how we're doing on time here. I want to get to the Loch Ness Monster. So this is these two quick stories here. So this one comes from NASA and Washington State University. The Washington State is testing spacesuits for NASA, but they're not testing them on humans. They're testing them on Barbie dolls. And what they did was they made these little tiny suits. And I think I have a picture of one of these Barbie dolls here while we take a look. So they made these little tiny suits, little tiny space suits, put them on little tiny Barbie dolls, and not to so much to test to see how the material would stand up to being cleaned. Because when astronauts come back to Earth, they have to be blasted by cleaning agents in order to kill any, anything that they may have brought from the moon or Mars, wherever else they came from. So they blasted them with a cryogenic fluid that removed moon dust. That was its purpose. Liquid nitrogen was the main ingredient, and it not only removed over 98% of the moon dust, but it caused little damage to the suits. So this was immediately protested by the National Organization of Older Sisters of Creepy Brothers, who don't want them getting any more ideas than they already have.
What an organization. What an organization that is, Paul and Karen, an audience.
Yeah, highly unusual. That's right. But a lot of members. So I thought, why not? Why are they? I know there will be at least one woman on the crew. NASA has already said that to go to the moon, but it's going to be mostly men. So why not let women test these spacesuits on Ken dolls?
Not a bad idea.
Hey,
that's right.
Okay, Paul and Karen. Well, yeah. Okay.
First thing they would do, they would say, well, let's see what happens if this little astronaut comes against some aliens who have sledgehammers for hands and start pounding away on them. Let's see what happens if Ken lands on a planet covered with hot tar, or with an atmosphere like a microwave oven. Have some fun. So one more sports story for John here. And John, I know you saw this. The World Wrestling and WWE, World Wrestling Entertainment, has cut a deal with state gambling associations to allow wagering on wrestling matches.
I did see that.
What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, as we all know, pro wrestling is rigged, fixed.
Rigged.
No.
Yes, I mean,
Oh,
I know you may have thought that in the purest form of sport that those things would never happen, but we all know that it's a lot of theatrics, and of course it is actually staged. So, but I think it speaks to people's appetite for gambling. I mean, we have now legalized gambling in the state of Ohio.
Yep. Right.
People wager all types of bets on sporting events, pro and college. Now we have this entertainment vehicle, right? The wrestling, the pro wrestling, being now another source of that people can gamble on. It's just what's next, Paul? You might have to have a sport for us that comes up that's going to become another sport to gamble on.
Oh, I know what's next. They're going to allow wagering on Rocky movies, whether Rocky wins or loses at the end. In fact, Sylvester Stallone isn't even playing Rocky anymore. It's going to be a Rocky zombie going against a zombie Apollo Creed, and we'll be wagering on which one of those.
There'll be an audience for that, Paul.
Yeah. Oh, I think I'm working on the script already.
Sure. Oh my gosh.
P.T. Barnum. If P.T. Barnum were today, he'd say there's a sucker born every microsecond.
You're right.
Yes, it is.
Unbelievable. Yeah. So I was shocked. I was actually shocked. So it's something else you could wager on, and that is on the existence of the Loch Ness Monster. We talk about the Loch Ness Monster occasionally on the show. I've mentioned before that it's my favorite of the monsters because it makes so much money for the local town. So but I've also talked about and I have been to Loch Ness looking for the monster, but there's a new way to look for the monster now, and that's on video. People can sit at home and watch a 24/7 Nessie cam, it's called, and not have to go there, not have to brave the cold and the fog and the rain, and just sit and watch it. So this guy, Ian O'Fagan is his name. He has just found the first and second sightings of the Loch Ness Monster in 2023. Now, Karen, we were talking about this. Whenever I refer to a Loch Ness Monster sighting, I always refer to it in the singular, the Loch Ness Monster. Someone saw a monster. I've never, to my knowledge, said someone saw the Loch Ness monsters. Would you verify that?
I will verify it. I pledge myself to you.
Right. There's never been one from the very first, the Saint Columba, who saw it in 560 something AD, and chased it back into the river, to the famous photo that looks like a dinosaur coming out of the water. It's always been one Loch Ness Monster until this week, when Ian O'Fagan provided video proof that there are two Loch Ness monsters in Loch Ness, and I want to put the video up here. So the first photo is the first monster that he saw 2 weeks ago. So 2 weeks ago, he's looking at his video feed, and he sees Barbie. There you go. Okay, so he sees these two lines over here with the convenient red circle around them. This is a video, snap screenshot of Loch Ness on 2/23, February 23rd, for those of you who can't see it. And there's two lines in the water, but that has been seen before. And the experts believe that is a single Loch Ness monster, possibly with two humps or two fins or something of that nature, that's swimming along. I'm not going to ask John what he thinks of it, because I already know what he thinks of this one.
It looks like a reflection in the water. That's all.
It could be a reflection in the water. It could be a wake from a boat that's no longer in the scene. You know, we've talked about all the various things that the Loch Ness Monster could be. There's obviously, for those of you not looking at it, there's no head sticking out of the water. There's no tail. There's no monster waving at us. It's, as Karen said, it looks an awful lot like a reflection. However, now he swears a week later he saw this on March 1st, saw this. Now, the circle, for those of you who can't see it, is around two things that look like they're in the water. Two long serpentine-like things, I would say. Now, this is obviously not moving, but I saw the video. It's not a very long video, but those two objects were parting. They were moving apart in the opposite direction. And he swears, and this is someone who looks, you know, he does nothing but look at these videos. He swears that is two Loch Ness monsters. Now, John, before I ask you, I know you're going to say, I want to show you another view. So you have two different views of these two Loch Ness monsters.
All right.
Here we go. There's the second one.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah. So much better. Not.
Paul and Karen, you know what my replies are going to be. I mean, could be, possibly, maybe, but nothing definitive again. Let me ask you this question, Paul. Like, the person that's taking these photos, is that the same one as taking the photos of the Bigfoot in Scotland? Because I tell you what, I guess it could be, but I'm not convinced. I am not convinced. Oh
no, this is the dedicated webcam. They're all over the place now on Loch Ness. No, you're right. It's very difficult to say with a straight face that this looks like two monsters going in the opposite direction. They could be they could be a log. We really don't know. But the one thing that we can validate is that this is the first photo of what is claimed to be two Loch Ness monsters in the same frame. So that's our announcement for this week on that.
So there's some notoriety there, obviously. So there's some notoriety, I guess. Okay, all right.
Now, Now we're going to come to a real creature, and that's this one comes from China, and also from Wyoming. So these scientists in China are working on. They were fascinated by deer, and the fact that and we live in Northeast Ohio, we see deer all the time. Deer lose their antlers, and yet it seems like a couple weeks later they have their antlers back again. Deer are the only mammals that lose an organ, and really antlers are they're alive. They have blood and other things inside of them, and as opposed to horns, which are more like fingernails. They fall off and they grow back. So they wanted to figure out what was causing it. So they studied. First, they took cells out of the little nubs that are left after a deer loses its antlers, and then they stuck them on the head of a mouse. So I think I have a picture of that. First, so what inspired them to do this, you might ask? This is a photograph here of a jackalope, and I think I've talked about jackalopes on this show before, John.
Yes, you
I don't
have.
know.
Yes, you have, Paul.
The
Right.
jackalope comes from Wyoming, and it's a cross between a jackrabbit and an antelope. And this is a photograph of one, and it looks like a rabbit with giant horns. Back in the old days, when you bought postcards, when you went someplace and you bought postcards and sent them back to your friend to rub it in that you were in Wyoming, one of the most popular postcards was photographs of the jackalope, and that's how it became popular. It came from a taxidermy shop back in the 1930s, where these two brothers were out hunting rabbits. And when they were done, they had a couple of rabbits, and they came back in the shop, and one of the brothers threw the rabbits' carcasses on the floor, and one of them slid up against some deer antlers that they were getting ready to mount. And the other brother says, "Hey, that looks like a rabbit with horns on it." So, of course, being taxidermists, they put the horns on the rabbit, and they started selling them, and the rest is history. I think I have a photo of a shop. Oh no, here's a pair of jackalopes there. So obviously, I'm not going to try it for you. The jackalope is not a real thing, as much as people in Wyoming would like you to believe. However, the mouse with horns is a real thing. There's some more jackalopes for sale there for you, John, in case you want to buy one. So the horns actually grew, and this is amazing. I didn't know how fast antlers grow. On a deer antlers grow as much as a quarter of an inch a day. On elk, they grow as much as an inch a day, and on a moose, they grow as much as a pound. And they don't even bother trying to measure them anymore. They grow by pounds a day. So they put the little cells on the mouse's head, and they ended up with this right here. So I'm just kidding. It's a cute little mouse with some tiny horns on it. I was thinking of Karen. The photos were really gross. So I didn't want to put that up there for you.
I appreciate that.
So this is a nice, cute one. So that came from China. I don't think that it's not one of those, be careful what you wish for kind of things, or what could possibly go wrong. What could possibly go wrong with mice having antlers? I don't really know. I want to mention the last story about Dr. Spitz. Do you have a comment on the mouse, John?
I was going to say, it's, I don't know, it's like harmless, right? In a sense, right? But
yeah. So Dr. Spock, probably the most popular character in the Star Trek series. I don't think anyone would argue with that. He came from the planet Vulcan, and it turns out there's actually a real planet Vulcan that was based on, which orbits a star 16 light years away, and the star was mentioned in a number of Star Trek episodes. And in 2018, astronomers were looking at that star, and they actually found a planet orbiting it. So they're all excited. This is it. This is Vulcan. This is where Dr. Spock came from, Mr. Spock. Turns out that they made a mistake. They just found out this week that they made a mathematical error, and the star, the planet does not exist.
No.
That That means that doesn't mean Mr. Spock doesn't exist. He still exists. But while I was researching that story, and by the way, you can read the whole story at mysteriousuniverse.org, where I'm the editor and head writer. Long, detailed story there. I want to mention one thing about it. As I was studying that Mr. Spock, Leonard Nimoy was not the first choice to play Mr. Spock. The first choice was DeForest Kelley, who played Dr. McCoy.
Mhm.
Dr. McCoy. The second choice was Martin Landau, very famous actor who ended up on Mission Impossible. And when Martin Landau left Mission Impossible, he was replaced by Leonard Nimoy. Interesting connection between the two of them. But this is the one that got me. Gene Roddenberry did not want any of them, including Leonard Nimoy, as his first choice. According to Ernest Borgnine, who was his biography, who was friends with this actor, he swears, and so did Leonard Nimoy, that the actor that Gene Roddenberry wanted to play Mr. Spock was none other than George Lindsay. Now, if you don't remember who George Lindsay is,
Remember
I'll give
George
you
Lindsay? Sure.
who
He's Goober.
Goober Pyle. That's right.
Homer Pyle. Right.
Can you believe that? Goober Pyle, George Lindsay, was George Roddenberry's first choice to play Mr. Spock. Would have been an entirely different series. They would have boldly gone back to Mayberry or something like that. What kind of show that would have been? But anyway,
A lot different, to say the least.
there's a little bit of trivia there, John, that I know you haven't heard. I know I haven't heard.
Oh, I haven't heard that.
Usual trivia there. Speaking of most unusual, I think that's my cue usually for What in the World of Sports with John Dinallo. Every week, I ask my old friend who knows everything there is to know about sports except for a few mascots. I ask him to find us an unusual sport that fits in with the theme of What in the World. And John is always up to the challenge. He always manages to top himself each week with another strange and unusual sport. I've never heard of anything like the one that he's come up with this week. So, John, why don't you introduce it while I line up your photos for you?
Oh, sounds good, Paul. Thanks for the introduction. So, for the people in the audience that watch our show, you may remember we recently had a fake sport that was on the final segment of our shows, of our podcast, which is Buff the co-hosts. And
Right.
that sport was called javelin catching.
Oh,
Where
javelin catching. That's right.
people actually catch thrown javelins. Okay.
Right out of the air.
Right out of
Okay.
the air. Now,
But completely fake.
totally fake, but our sport this week is not fake. It's very real. And the sport is, get ready for this, firework catching.
Firework catching.
Firework
Yes.
catching.
No.
Karen, it's an actual sport. Let me explain.
Wait. We'll stop right here. Kids, don't try this at home. Okay, we better get that out of the way.
Absolutely.
You have the disclaimer for children and even young adults. Do not try this at home.
Especially young adults.
Especially
Especially the people who listen to this show.
right, exactly. Now, so firework catching originated in all places, China. And there's some significance there because gunpowder and fireworks were invented several centuries ago in the wonderful nation of China.
Oh,
Now-
that's true. Yeah, okay. All right.
Now, there is an official name for this sport, and I'm going to try to pronounce it. Apologies to our Chinese people in the audience.
Oh,
Jiang Huapo. And you may wait a
I've
minute.
had that.
Wait a
That's
minute.
good with rice, over rice.
Right.
So-
You may think that means, ouch, that's hot, but the name is actually derived from two very prominent ethnic groups that reside in China.
Oh, they probably invented the sport. Yeah,
Yes,
okay.
and these two groups, the one group, they're called the Zhuang, Zhuang, and the other is the Dong, Dong. Now,
Okay.
so firework catching, obviously there has to be some connection to something. It's associated with a foot race. and a firework festival, which is usually held in China on the third day of the third month in the Chinese lunar calendar.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Whatever day that
third
is.
day, third month. Now,
Yeah.
the traditional fireworks used in this contest are round iron rings with a diameter of nearly 2 feet. There's
I put up a photo of it. These
Right.
guys are obviously playing with a little smaller firework.
it's a smaller ring, Paul, there, of course.
Yeah,
But so anyway, but with this ring, there is a red cloth or red silk that is twisted carefully along the ring, which is then positioned into a firework launcher that is set with gunpowder.
Gunpowder, of course.
Okay, now once lighted, the launcher sends the round iron ring into the sky.
So spinning up into the air like a flying
Gets up
saucer.
into the air, and when it descends to earth, descends to the ground, players run to snatch it, and then they try to throw it into the opposing team's basket to get the score of 1 point. So there's baskets that both teams have.
So you go chase a flaming hot firework, catch it, run and put it in a basket, all to get a point.
To gain a point.
What?
To win the contest.
No alcohol involved here, right?
No, to my understanding, no alcohol or any kind of recreational drugs, to my understanding. Okay.
No, this is a fitness.
Right. So anyway, the playing field is actually 65 yards long, and it is 54 yards wide.
Wow, big field.
You
Yeah.
see all these people competing here? That's because there are 16 contestants in every contest. Both teams have 8 players. You may want to know how long the games last, and I'll tell you. The games last 40 minutes, and they are actually conducted in 2 20-minute halves. And there's also a 10-minute break.
That's an awful long time to be chasing fireworks.
I would think it would be, especially the bigger ones. You know, they're chasing. It looks like these guys are chasing smaller ones. 2 feet is pretty significant. But at any rate, let's continue. The players are allowed to, they can pass, they can duck, and they can intercept the ring. So it's kind of almost a free-for-all. You know, there's really not, I mean, there are some rules, right? But it's kind of like a free-for-all. They also
these guys are obviously in some sort of violent scrum of some sort while they're jumping.
Yeah, for sure. But wait,
fireworks,
so
and it's muddy, they're covered in mud. They're grimacing. It's
well, it can be
somewhat of
played,
a violent
obviously,
sport.
if it's played where it's not wet or the rain hasn't come, that's a lot easier. But they play in weather conditions. Now, they can also hold. You can also hold your opponent while doing this.
Oh,
And
good.
Wait, and you can even hold their opponents during the competition, and get this, lock the arms of their teammates to take advantage of the situation. So as I'm explaining this, it's a free-for-all. Okay, it's like no holds barred. It's it's Chinese ring competitors going wild. So anyway,
all of a sudden, the catching the fireworks part becomes a minor thing, and it's more.
It seems to be somewhat of a lesser goal. Now the team.
I want to point out to Karen. I went looking for some more photos, and there was not a single one with women participating in this sport.
I don't.
Why?
I can believe that. We're not dumb.
And to my research corroborates what Paul just said. I didn't find any women or any notice of photos of ladies in the competition. Now, the team that collects the most points wins the contest, as in most sports. But since the firework is so small, get ready for this. There are certain individuals that are designated that catch the rings, and then what they do is they shoot the rings, into the basket. But it's kind of like an emotion where they can catch the ring and then hopefully not getting interfered with from the opponents, and then fire the ring as fast as you can to make sure it makes it into the basket.
Wow.
Interesting flowers on the basket there. I think.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's it's colorful, obviously. Now, believe it or not, firework catching is considered to be the Chinese version of traditional soccer or traditional football, which means several leagues, lots of people playing, and it's very, very popular. Now,
yeah, apparently. Olympic sport.
How many fingers do they lose in a season?
I have no information on that, Karen. Can't help you on that one. Sorry.
I was going to say, if you look at the photo, they all seem to have all their fingers, and I don't know.
And they're most of the competitors, or all the competitors, they don't have gloves on. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand the ring is wrapped in that silk and the cloth, right? But still, it's hot. Okay, now wait.
Right.
For insurance reasons, there is now an electronic device that is used to launch the firework, whereas before it had to be thrown into the air by an individual tossing it up there. However, at core, Jiang Huapo is still the same sport it was when it was founded several centuries ago.
Wow.
So there's something to be said for tradition, okay, if it's been carried on that long. Now, one thing is, needless to say, kids, do not try this at home. Firework catching may be the football of China, but even Rob Gronkowski is not crazy enough to try it.
Very good.
Yeah. And he's crazy. So if he won't play this game, I'm certain.
Yeah, I think there's a message for everybody, not just the youngsters. I think it's for everybody.
That's exactly right. Great sport, John. That very unusual.
Very unusual. Yes, it is.
Right.
Yes, it is.
There is a message for everybody, but as followers of our show know, John and I never follow that message. I don't know if you remember this, John, but back in college, when we were in the same fraternity, we were challenged by another fraternity to a bout of fireworks catching. Do you remember that?
Yeah, now that you bring that up, I do have a better recollection of that now, because
in the quad, the quad at the
university we were at, absolutely. And our fraternity had many rival fraternities, and we had a lot of contacts with them. Yes.
So I went looking for photographs because I remember we dominated that particular match and won hands down, but I couldn't find any photographs of us actually playing or catching fireworks. However, I did find some post-game photos, maybe post-game interviews of you and I, as a matter of fact. So here's a picture of John after 40 minutes of fireworks catching.
No.
This was from the emergency room where they bandaged up just about everything on John except one eye. I think you still have all your fingers. Is that correct?
Yes, I do. But now, seeing that photograph brings back some memories, and I won't tell you what kind of memories, but it's jarred my recollection, Paul and Karen.
Thank God they allowed you to see with one eye, because you could help me get out. This is a picture of me in the emergency room, and I am completely
I think we wrapped you in bandages because, again, you had some injuries there. You had some things that happened.
Actually looks like the fraternity bandaged me there. If I'm not,
I think you know what? Yeah, now it comes back to me clearly. If I go to our scrapbook, I'm sure we'll find some other photos as well.
Yeah, that mummy, somewhere inside that mummy of toilet paper wrapping is me. So anyways, fireworks catching is our sport of the week, courtesy of John Donalo and What in the World of Sport. Thank you, John, and also thank you to your lovely wife Annette, the wife Annette, who suggested that sport.
Yes, we have to thank Annette for that when she's the one who was able to find that out, source it out, and come up with the information. So thanks, Annette.
All right. So at the end of What in the World of Sport, that means it's time for Bluff the co-host, everybody's favorite weird news game. Let's get that mummified picture down there. So every week we play everybody's favorite sport. It's real. Rules are real simple. I have 3 stories similar to the ones we've been talking about all afternoon. One big difference: those stories were real. These could be real, could be a bluff. It's up to you, John and Karen, to determine whether they're real or a bluff. Wagering is allowed, as John mentioned. So hands on your buzzers, place your bets, and let's get right to story number 1. Basketball fans know that the worst thing that can happen to a basketball player is to shoot an air ball, which means to miss the rim of the basket completely. Now, a major basketball manufacturer is making the air ball a good thing by coming out with the first innovation in ball technology in years, the airless ball. The airless ball does away with the pump by making a hollow polymer ball with holes all over it, like a wiffle ball, but bigger. The airless ball weighs the same as a regulation basketball, bounces the same, and feels the same in the hand, but it never runs out of air and can never get punctured. The airless air ball is being tested by a few NBA teams during practice, but look for the Harlem Globetrotters to work it into one of their comedy routines first. Okay, so a real air ball, a basketball that does not need to be pumped. What do you say, Karen? Real or bluff?
Well, I haven't had a good track record the last couple of weeks. I think this is a bluff. I don't
Karen
know
says it's a
why.
bluff. Okay.
I just think it's a bluff.
Okay, there's no such thing as an air ball. John, how about you?
Well, I think it's real. I think that, to me, it's something different, and it seems it would serve the same purpose as a regulation basketball. I'm gonna say it's real.
Okay, so John says the new innovation, the air ball, is real. Karen says it's a bluff. Let's check with the judges, and the judges say, congratulations, John, that is true. They really are testing a giant wiffle ball. It looks like a dog toy almost. And I was afraid you may have seen it. There was one of the players at the NBA All-Star game was actually dribbling one on the sideline for a brief moment.
I didn't catch that. And Karen, one of the things about our sports all the time is sometimes you throw logic out the window.
Yeah, you're right.
No, that's right. They're probably cheaper too, so they're going to save money on them.
Oh,
okay, so let's check the scoreboard, and it's John 1, Karen 0. Oh my goodness, Karen, this does not bode well. So take a deep breath and let's get right to story number 2. If you're looking for a new way to get rid of stress, you may want to take a trip to Hong Kong, where the most popular way to relieve frustration these days is at a villain hitting parlor. For a small fee, the overstressed tell the manager what is causing their stress. The manager then draws a big picture of the stressful thing or person, called the stress villain, and hangs it on a wall. The stressed person then stands about 10 feet away, takes off their shoes, and throws them at the picture of the villain. It's less dangerous than axe throwing and cheaper than a divorce. But those visiting the villain hitting parlors say it's definitely effective. The parlors are so popular in Hong Kong, some Chinese restaurants in the US are looking into adding them to their menu. All right, so the villain hitting parlor in Hong Kong for relieving your stress by throwing your shoes at a picture of your stress. What do you say, John? Real or bluff?
Well, I think it's real. I think it's true. I think that we all deal with stress, and there are people that become frustrated and angry of things, right? Everyone does. I'm not so sure, though, that it has to necessarily be in Hong Kong. But if it's reported to be from Hong Kong, I think that's okay. But I'm going to say it's real.
Okay. All right. John says it's real. Karen, how about you?
I'm going to go along with my buddy John because he hasn't been wrong in 7 tries.
Finally figured out the correct strategy.
I hope I'm right. I hope I'm right.
There you go. Oh boy, yeah. And now the pressure is really on John. So both Karen and John say that story is real. Let's check with the judges. And the judges say both of you are correct. Villain,
Wow,
Very
thanks,
good,
John.
very good. Very
villain
good.
hitting is
Very good.
real. All right.
All
Okay,
right.
so scores 2-1. Karen has a chance to catch up. Points are doubled in round number 3. So let's get right to round 3. If it sounds like the plot of a sitcom, but a couple in the US aren't laughing after they accidentally got married at a UPS store. It seems they needed to get some marriage papers notarized for their courthouse wedding the following month. And the local UPS store had a notary service, so they went there after work. The couple signed, the notary notarized, and the papers were sent in. A few days later, the bride-to-be called the courthouse to make sure that the papers were processed and was shocked when the clerk informed her that they were already legally married because their state no longer requires a ceremony with the judge at the courthouse. The form is the marriage certificate, and they are legally married. After calming down, the bride went to the UPS store and asked for the surveillance video, since it's now their wedding video too. Okay, so the couple that got accidentally married at a UPS store, real or bluff? What do you say, Karen?
Wow. You know, I've had some issues with notaries at UPS stores lately, and I'm going to say it's real because it's just so weird. It has to be true.
There you go. That's worked before. Okay, so Karen says it's real. John, how about you?
Yeah, I'm going to say it's real also. I mean, with laws being changed by states all the time now, with a state not requiring an actual ceremony, right? With a
Yeah.
preacher, priest, justice of the peace. I think it's real plausible. Yeah, I'm going to say it's real.
Okay, so John says it's real. Karen says it's real. You both say it's real. Let's check with the judges, and the judges say here's something else that's real. You're both correct. That is a true story.
Oh, Karen, you're on a roll. All right, Karen, very good.
But you won. You still won.
Well, that's
John,
okay.
John, another
It was a
3
good
for
contest.
3. I'm amazed. Wow, this is unbelievable. John, go buy a lottery ticket. This is your lucky
Well,
day.
you know what? Actually, my wife did. She went out and bought 2 scratch-offs, and she did win with one of them. So maybe
Okay.
maybe it's
There
a
you
good.
go. All right. So John is the winner again at Bluff the co-host, 3-2. Karen did well. So new strategy was working for you, Karen.
Yep.
That means we've reached the end of another episode of What in the World, everybody's favorite weird new podcast. I want to thank Karen Hale, our media mogul at newclevelandradio.net and producer. Thank you for everything you do at the platform, Karen, and for us. Please, everybody, go to newclevelandradio.net. Check out all the great podcasts that Karen has there after, of course, you listen to us. And as always, I want to thank my old friend John Dinallo. Thanks for the sports. Thanks for being a good sport and all the trivia knowledge that you provide. Enjoy your vacation. We will be on vacation next week, by the way. We'll be off. We'll be back in 2 weeks. So everybody out there, enjoy that. That'll be the first day of spring and St. Patrick's Day. So enjoy all of that while we're gone. And we'll be back in 2 weeks with another edition of What in the World. So
we definitely will be. Everybody have a great day.